Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I'll be giving you my review of Illuminae by Kristoff and Amie Kaufman. If you don't know, this is more or less a YA science fiction novel. And I will also say that I'm not going to give away the main plot of this story. I think it's one of those books that benefits from you going into it pretty blind. The only thing that I knew about it going into it, other than the fact that it was science fiction and our main characters were teenagers, was the fact that it's told in the unique format. Basically, this book is just a collection of confidential files that are being sent to someone. That's all we know from page one, right? And so there's all these different kinds of files. There's like medical files and interviews and military files and instant messages and just all this kind of stuff, like video surveillance that's been transcribed, and there's just all these different things all packed in here. It makes for a really interesting read. So if you look at it, like, I don't know if you're able to see anything, but it's just told in this unique way. And it just, to me, I was really worried going into it that it was going to seem like a gimmick and not really be that well told of a story. But it's a really well told story, and for once I honestly think that this format adds to the story, and I think that this story would have been missing something. It would be lacking if you would have told it in the traditional format. I think that this is one of those stories that actually needs this format to be, the best that it can be. I think it works the best in the format that it's in. And kind of going along with this is just the fact that I think this story is really well told, and I was a bit concerned also by the fact that there was two authors here, so I wasn't sure how that collaboration was going to work. And so between two authors and this unique format with all these just files just jam-packed together, I was really worried that this was going to feel disjointed, but it wasn't. It was very cohesive and succinct, and it worked together. And on top of it, it felt so cinematic. I could imagine these things in my mind's eye. Like, it felt like it was actually happening in front of me. And again, I don't know if it was just the format or just their writing or what it was, maybe a combination of all of it, but it felt like this really exciting adventure, and I could imagine it, in my head, and it was just a really engaging story because of that. And it's a really, really fun story as well. The characters are wonderful. Like, even though it's a science fiction story, it really is more just about the characters, I don't think it's one of those science fiction that relies too heavily on the science part. They give you futuristic technology, and that's kind of where the science fiction comes in, but ultimately, it's really about these characters and their adventure and their story and their journey. And I need stories to have good characters, and I really enjoyed these characters. They were really fun to follow in here. And I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And I was really considering giving it 5 out of 5, but there are just a couple things in it that, a lot of books suffer from this, and I don't know, maybe it's not the biggest deal, so I'll think about it. It might be in review, but, this, like a lot of books, there's kind of that convenience factor, like, characters in the story and situations, like, there's a lot of tension built, but of course, like, they are able to always, get through it, and the characters are just, like, they're just, like, too good at what they do sometimes. It's like, okay, of course they are, And so just like a couple things like that, but I will say the book does kind of address it in a sense. This like, oh, it's awfully lucky that these characters were able to pull this off. And they kind of directly mention that in some of the video transcriptions. So it's like video footage that someone is then after the fact looking at and, writing out what's happening. And that person, like, I like that even that transcriber, like, there's that character and that person that's there as well. And we get to see their perspective on this as well. And it's really, really cool and really funny as well. But yeah, there's, some commentary about, like, oh, this is awfully lucky, like, this is their big lucky day. So that is in there, and to me, I really appreciated that, like, they were aware that, yes, this is awfully convenient, but we need this to happen for the story. I wouldn't say it's like that too much, where it's like everything is convenient. At this point, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm kind of open to maybe tweaking that, The more I try to do these ratings, the more I realize that I don't know how much I like the 5-star rating system. I don't think it really encompasses like my true feelings on the book. So I have some ideas on how to change that. Maybe I'll do that in the future. But as of right now, in the old 5-star rating scale, I'll give it like a 4 out of 5 stars. At least right now. That could change. That's a nice thing too, like, you know, I can always just change it. No big deal. So this is the first book in a trilogy, which has not been completed yet. The third one is due to come out early next year, which makes me want to wait a bit on reading the second one because I want to space out that experience instead of reading like the first two back to back and then waiting so many months for the next one. I'm going to try to space it out a bit so it's a bit more fresh in my mind when I actually do get to the third one. But I'm really enjoying this so far. I'm really excited to continue the story at some point. And it's definitely a book that I'm going to keep in my collection and probably reread because it is an easy read. It is a fun read. It's just it's a really good story. Okay, so there you have it. My spoiler-free review of Illuminae. I honestly really enjoyed this story, and I kind of knew that I was going to. I've heard so many good things about it, and I like books that, you know, they go outside of the box and they try something different, and I really appreciate that as a reader. I think it's fun to kind of explore the different ways to tell a story and to see which one fits, you know, best for your story. And I really like that. So I appreciate that. I hope to see some more creative books in the future. I really enjoy just that whole aspect of trying to figure out like, okay, how do I read this book? How is this going to work? Does this format make sense? I enjoyed the risks, and in this case, it definitely paid off, so I appreciate that. I'm very excited to finish this series at some point. So one thing I just want to say before I sign off is I just want to thank you guys for subscribing to me. I recently broke, you know, the 50 mark, so to me that is so exciting. I am just beyond grateful to everyone and anyone who subscribes to me. That is so cool. So I just want to thank you all. I'm always open for suggestions if you want to give me video suggestions. And as always, I just want to thank you for watching my video, and until next time.